Hello, everyone, and welcome back
Hello.
to Curiosity. I'm Lauren,
I'm Adam.
and I'm your host, and Adam is your co-host, is my co-host. He, if you're new here, he comes on for the intros right now.
Mhm.
You get the first fresh, ears on
I do.
the episode.
I feel so lucky to be able to get the behind the scenes too, because I know there's a tiny bit of editing that goes into things, but I feel like it's just I get to know the conversations that you're having with people and how they influence the conversations that we have in person, and that's just like so fun for me.
Yeah,
Because I feel like I get the secret side of it. I get the context without even having the conversation with you about the podcast episode.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think it's fun. So for those who are new here, that's kind of what we do. We do the intros together, and then I do most of the episodes with the guests. I do the interviews myself.
Yeah.
So
You've been doing such a great job. Honestly, you're
thank
such a
you.
good interviewer. It's so fun to listen to you actually just work through your questions and really actually give people a beautiful narrative on the people that you have on the podcast. I think you do amazing research, and you're such a good interviewer.
Well, thank you. And the reason why we want you on every intro is because not a lot of guys with your check boxes of white guy, straight guy, all these things have such good opinions and perspectives. So we shove microphones in front of Adam's face to make sure that his voice is heard. So that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But today we are, you're about to hear from Ashley Clemens, who she is
a powerhouse.
Such a fun. She's so sweet. She's so knowledgeable in things that are health, fitness. But
and she's experienced. She just has time in the game.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through a little bit of what we talk about, and then we're gonna get Adam's perspective of the conversation. So obviously, like I said, her name is Ashley Clemens. She's a health coach, nutritionist, and personal trainer. Her mission is to help people achieve their healthiest and happiest selves. Ashley's journey was influenced by 90s dieting culture and a childhood loss, which we get into. Very fascinating going into all that. And she talks about the key principles for a balanced and healthy lifestyle. And we just kind of went in hard in the paint for those sort of things. We talked about her upcoming course launch, Empowering Women in Health Optimization. And obviously the conversation was all over the place when it comes to nutrition, fitness, and longevity strategies. We kind of put it all in one conversation, and we were able to kind of cover it all.
I feel like this one was so much of her experience and your questions that were so amazing, you sharing your experiences, but it was also very tangible. There's a lot of actual practicality to this episode that I don't always see in the rest of them, because there's so many people that are about just creativity and the art that they make, but the art that she makes is a lesson plan.
Answers.
It is she is a teacher. There's an art to the way that she teaches, and I think that's really neat.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. It was one of my favorite conversations in that way, that I felt if once you hear this, you're going to write certain things down to remember to do later or to add to your life, which is the kind of episodes that I personally listen, or the podcast that I personally listen to. So it was it was riveting. I was telling Adam, it was riveting having a conversation where I felt it was one that I would, in my current season of life, be listening to, which was fascinating. And then lastly, we just talked about just well-being, lifelong learning, and the pursuit of happiness through health. So you already kind of gave your input a little bit, and I like hearing your perspective, but anything else that you want to kind of touch on before we listen?
Well, I thought it was so interesting, her response to your question about curiosity in the space that she crafts in the communities that she's built, because I feel like that's not exactly an obvious question to ask somebody who's in the fitness space. There's not much room for curiosity. It's all very linear and technical, and you have macros to hit, and you've got things to do every day, and it's grind, do it whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And to introduce curiosity into that, and her answer to it, I think was just so profound to me, just because like she really did bring it back to her own experience and her own humanity. And I think you guys listening are really going to enjoy that facet of the conversation. And I know it comes toward the end, so you kind of got to hang in there for a minute, but it really is worth listening to. And also just like, I love that you guys were able to get into the whole body positivity movement and the way that your perception is on it, coming from somebody who's been in a perpetual state of trying to put weight on. And you guys were able to craft it so nicely into the conversation through your journey out of veganism and her little, dabble into a more plant-based diet, as she puts it. I think it's just really cool to see you guys following the research and like just really not only following intuition, because I feel like that can be dismissive on occasion, but like really digging into and doing the work to find what is going to work best for the both of you, and to see it come from two different places and land in somewhere similar. And you guys have so much in common. It's just, it's such a cool episode.
Yeah. And I think the point of it's fascinating for both of us. Like we were both kind of like just like geeking out on things, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Because we've both been into health since we were young kids. And as you guys will hear, something kind of tragic happened in her childhood. I kind of mentioned it, that a childhood, a loss that she had. And that kind of set her on this path of like health and determining, what causes disease and things like that. And that's something I kind of stumbled upon when I was young, because I was dealing with acne. And so I think having something where we were both young when we got into it was cool to see how it has turned out for the both of us, and like how our interests have kind of fleshed out as adults. But yeah, I think you guys are gonna really like this episode. Ashley is amazing.
Yeah, she is.
All of her, obviously follow her on all her things. All that's in the description, of course, of the podcast episode. And we want to remind you guys, as always, to please rate and review. It does help us a lot. Follow the podcast wherever you listen. Helps people like yourself find the podcast, and sharing is caring, and it really does help us a lot. So that's all I'll say for now. You guys can listen to the episode, and we'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Actually, before we dive in, I do need to tell you about what I'm drinking. No, it's not coffee, but it is matcha. And not just any matcha, it's Blossom's matcha. And you've heard we've talked about them before. And now we have Curious Cuties also drinking Blossom with us, which I love. And so let me back up. If you are an avid coffee drinker and you just chugged your morning coffee and you know the jitters are on their way and will be in full effect by the end of this episode, it's time to make that switch. Whether it's matcha, whether it's chai, Blossom oat milk lattes are a delicious way to get the energy and focus that you want from your coffee without the jitters and the crash. It's perfect for you, but it's also a perfect gift for Christmas. Add it to your wish list or get it for somebody you love. Get 20% off your latte mix at drinkblossom.com with the code Curiosity. That's drinkblossom.com with the code Curiosity for 20% off. Cheers to you. Welcome to Curiosity.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Ashley, you are a fitness guru.
Yes.
You are a health coach. Like, this is like all the things that you are. I've been following you obviously on your socials for years. I've known you for years. First question.
Yeah.
How excited are you that I'm no longer vegan?
I'm so excited. So excited. Like, no judgment.
Yeah,
no judgment
I know.
whatsoever.
I know.
But really, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's been like a really gradual, natural process.
Yeah.
Like from the outside looking in. Obviously, I don't know everything, but it
Right.
feels like it's been super natural.
Yes,
you.
it was. I was vegan I was strict vegan for 7 years, and then I introduced eggs, and technically, I guess that would be my slippery slope that I fell down, because once I introduced eggs, it's just kind of like led to some other things. So anyway, I'm no longer vegan. I'm really, really not vegan.
Really?
Because some people,
Yeah.
are still kind of like plant-based because like they were icked out by meat, or they never enjoyed the taste all that much. So it's kind of like a diligence, I guess a diligence some people have to like eating meat. They like make sure they do. For me, I got to make sure I eat other things. than like.
Wait, so how did you feel after you ate eggs initially?
Okay, eggs.
If that was the first thing.
It was. No, it was. So with eggs, it was like, wow, this is, I mean, delicious. I had been craving eggs. I was seeing like people getting like at brunches and stuff. I was like, okay, this looks amazing. So I'm going to need to try this at some point. Like I hadn't even like, I went vegan when I was 21, I think. And so I really hadn't spent any of my like real adult life being like eating anything besides like vegan foods. I didn't know how to cook things that were like non-vegan, like all these different stuff. So having eggs, it was like, it felt luxurious because it was like a main brunch item. So once I could have that, I felt like I was like part of society again, which is kind of weird.
It's in so many things.
It's
too.
in
Even if
so
you're
many
not
things.
Ordering it, it's just like made within.
Yes.
So I'm sure you had to kind of like check labels and ingredients.
Yes, I did that for years. And like, so on the physical side of things, when I introduced everything back in, it's like, to be honest, I didn't feel a whole big change. Well, I will say, I feel like my libido actually went up pretty drastically.
Yeah, that was the
pretty
first thing you
suddenly.
noticed.
On a physical level, yes. There was a lot of emotional change for me. And I don't know, in some ways, I felt like I had, actually, it's like very overarching for that season of my life, but I feel like I had kind of numbed myself down to a lot of different emotions, like anger, sadness, but specifically anger was the first one that I was like, I haven't felt angry in like years. And as I started eating like animal products, I feel like I got more energy and I was no longer having to just like store up so much energy and like, I felt like I had more energy to feel my feelings. I had more energy to express them, to physically move my body more. So I think it just like, it surprised me that there was a lot of covering some other emotions that like having eating like animal products like kind of brought out. And I was like, first of all, I was like, is this wrong? Like, did I make a wrong choice? Because I'm like feeling all these feelings. Like, why is this happening? But then like the longer I have been eating meat, it's obviously calmed down. It's not so crazy anymore. But like also, I think looking back, I'm like, no, I just think there was a lot I had been suppressing. And I just quite honestly didn't have enough energy to feel.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
That's so interesting. Like, it sounds like you almost just, that was a way that you conserved energy.
It was
not express yourself fully.
Yes. Yep.
Because I talk about this a lot, not to change because I feel like it's so interesting, the transition to eating meat again. But I talk about this a lot with women who undereat and how, you can survive. You're not starving yourself here.
Right.
It's not like that extreme. But if you're eating enough under where you really need to thrive over the course of years like that, your body will cut corners because you're still, trying to maintain that homeostasis. And so maybe that's one way. It's like in sneaky ways that you might just not notice until you make a drastic change like that, where all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that was one way I was just conserving energy.
I think so, which is kind of strange. I would think that the way I would conserve energy is like through my like thoughts and brain, but no, that always stayed on lock. Like I was like, you know, because I had transformed and evolved a lot over those years I was vegan. Like I changed a lot of my like morale even. Like there's so many things that I had gone through. So that was still working. But you're right. Like the corners that were being cut were like my emotional capacity for other things. Yeah. Like I was so internalized, I think, that I had another way we could put it is that I just didn't have enough energy to externalize anything. So anyway, so I found that really fascinating.
That is so
And I know you're
crazy.
always like, the reason why I even bring this up for everyone listening is because, you know, you have posted in the past and even like currently you post the things, it's like the vegan meats versus like, you know, a beef burger, whatever, like just the different like nutritional values, different things like that. And I obviously saw that when I was vegan and I had my own like lenses I was like seeing that through too.
Yeah.
And
like your own reaction.
my own reaction. And now like, it's just funny because it just shows how much you can like just transform via like research. Like I said this in another conversation I had recently that I think I did make the best informed decision when I went vegan, because at the time, the research that I was coming across was showing that it was a great idea.
Yeah.
But as we evolve, so does science, so does research, so does like the studies that go on. And so as the years have gone by, more things have come out that have been like, oh, well, actually, perhaps if you're like getting your products from like these ethical farms, or like, we could go on into this for forever, so I'll try not to keep talking about this. But anyway, as I was coming across those things, I was like, oh, okay, there's more information out there.
Uncover.
I can evolve as the information that I'm digesting also evolves.
Yeah, which is that's the beauty of growing and learning. I still have people that followed me before I mean, when I first started my Instagram page, when I was still teaching, and I was more plant-based. I wasn't a vegan by any stretch of the imagination, or even vegetarian, but I was definitely more plant-based. And the things I shared were so
plant forward.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like this. I was the smoothie queen. I mean, I was just like inventing new smoothies every day.
And so this was like what, 10, 12 years ago?
I would say maybe 8
for
me,
and
roughly.
That makes sense though of that time. And same thing for me being vegan. It's like it was very
getting a lot of attention.
Veggie forward,
plant forward.
Yeah.
And so, and I was experimenting at the time. I had never eaten tempeh or tofu. I never grew up eating seitan or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was experimenting with those things. And similarly, probably being influenced by that more vegan, vegetarian culture. And I gave it a try. I think I noticed changes, not positive, but like negative changes in my skin and my hair over time. Okay. I wouldn't say I did it long enough to notice anything, because I still was eating meat, just a lot less and a lot higher carb and fat intake. And it took a little while to notice, but I felt very dry and just those changes in my skin and my hair and my nails. And eventually I just, like you, started to look into educate myself and experiment. Right. And I just feel best when I eat a little bit. I still think it's
plants are really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that it's just, whole food based, I guess. Like natural sources of all foods, you know, animal products and plant products. And I kind of find a happy medium. But if I learn something down the line that changes my opinion, of course, like,
you're open to the research studies. I
think when you become so like dogmatic about it, or you're like making general blanket statements, that's when you have to be like questioning and fearful. It's like, you're a little too attached to this. You can't get emotionally attached.
No, which I did, obviously. I mean, veganism is just so funny because it was for me it was like religion, right?
An
like
identity.
It was another identity. Of course, it was another community that I felt like I had,
that's true.
And feeling like, especially coming out of being in the Christian music industry, being in the vegan community, I was like, well, I still have like a place in this world. You know what I mean?
Felt safe.
Felt like I was like following the rules of something. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
So then as you loosen that up, and like I've talked about this a lot, but like now, like being 30 and just like realizing there's like so much, life is just so much better in the nuance and in the like balance of things. Like it's just, it was a trauma response for me in a lot of ways to gravitate towards like the black and white and like the hard, fast rules. It just made me feel safe in the world.
I totally get it.
And now I'm way more open. But anyway, okay, let's talk about you, okay? Enough about me, my God. Can you share more about your personal journey, right? And how you became a health coach, nutritionist, and, a personal trainer?
Of course, I would love to. Well, I actually grew up always wanting to be a teacher.
Oh my God, okay.
I was like it was a straight line. Like I kind of, you know what your life is going to look like. It's like go to school. I went to a school that was known for education program.
Okay.
And fell in love with student teaching.
Oh, wow.
Got involved in all these clubs
I
in
could see
college.
that for you.
Like I was like rah rah, like going to be an elementary school teacher since I was like 7.
Oh my God.
So I
Okay.
just never had it like
You kind of
any-
still are like doing that.
That's what I always say. I had no other interest. Like that was 100% going to be it. And I loved teaching.
Yeah.
And I actually became, after a couple years, an instructional leader in my school and got to work with adults a little bit too. But you know, the talk that I would have with my colleagues was sometimes we would talk about like our in another world. I just remember having that conversation because I worked in a high performing charter school that was really fast paced.
Okay.
I worked 80 hours a week.
Oh,
I was
gosh.
stressed. I was sick, and
Oh, my
I
word.
still was somehow working out. I really don't know how.
Wow.
But it was just like not very much social life or free time.
Yeah.
But we would talk about like, you know, what's Instagram was just
Starting.
kind of starting.
Yeah.
And Kayla Itzinas was like do you know her, the Australian girl? She was like, I remember just being fast. There wasn't a lot to follow.
No.
I was so fascinated. I was like, that would be my
Your dream. Yeah.
I was like, I would if I could, like as
Oh
if
my
it was so
gosh.
unachievable.
Right. Well,
But when you have only gone to school for one thing,
your one track mind.
you
Yeah.
just don't imagine. And obviously you don't go into teaching to make money. Like
Right.
it's not, you're just not business minded, you
Right.
know? So it's just that I feel like that background is somewhat
Yeah.
interesting because
Yeah, it
it's-
is.
I just ended up making a huge leap, like long story short, quitting my job and starting from ground zero
Oh my gosh.
in educating myself, like starting with a personal training certification, because
Yeah.
that's like something
How
can
you get
do
going.
within less than a year. Yeah.
Right.
And kind of get going. I called, when I moved to Nashville, I called gyms around the city and
Okay.
just was like, I'm not certified. Will you, like, can I like,
Let me?
Yeah. A lot of owners were just like, no. Like,
But you
we're
got
good.
your foot in the
But
door?
somebody let me in.
Yeah.
Like he's the best. He's been working in Nashville for a long time, and he's like, sure, come in and shadow and
Yeah.
whatever. But going from 5 years in a career
Mm-hmm.
that you've kind of accelerated in, and I had all this confidence built, and
Yeah.
then just making a 180 and being like, I'm gonna make minimum wage and basically
That's hard. Yeah.
like don't know what I'm doing. It was
Taking
a
the
big,
risk.
a big risk, but within a few years, like I got to build my confidence, came back up
Yeah.
with experience, and
Yeah.
it was the best thing ever because I felt like I brought my experience from teaching
Right.
people skills.
Yep.
And I just teach instead of kindergarten.
Right.
I teach, people how to like
Older people.
yeah, adults how to like eat and exercise, and another thing I'm passionate about. So it feels
Yeah.
very, even though it was such a huge shift lifestyle wise,
Yeah.
and like a lot of personal growth to kind of make that big shift, it's very aligned.
Yeah.
And it was still like looking in hindsight, was like
It makes
kind of a
sense.
natural progression. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like take your other passion, use the
And
skills
move
you
it
have,
here.
you'll be okay.
Right. And I
Yeah.
feel like that makes you so good at what you do in like a way that people that you work with, like your clients, I'm sure are so grateful because you're not just teaching them, you're not just like showing them like moves to do. You're
Yeah.
like showing them how to implement it into their life. And I think that's like the most rewarding thing, where they feel like they have the tools to live their lives and like change what they want to and implement.
Yeah,
other
it's
things.
definitely evolved to be. I started out as a trainer, and it was much more fitness focused. And then as I continued getting certifications and educating myself, and obviously my own journey,
Right.
then the nutrition piece came in. And over the years, now after working with hundreds of women, it's very much a coaching, like life coaching type of relationship. I'm a
Yeah.
health coach, but I feel like a lot of my clients will say this is like therapy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Aw.
therapy. But it feels like that for
Yeah.
me too, where it's really a personal accountability journey,
Right.
but also just helping people, find what works for them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different, and like
Yeah.
almost give you that permission to like, hey, I'm going to teach you some things, find what works for you. And the goal is that you feel empowered to, continue on your own.
Yep.
It's really what it's kind of evolved to be, which is so fun.
I love
And
that.
rewarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
What motivated you to create the Fit Life community and your virtual coaching program?
yeah, I think the experience working with so many women with different goals and,
Right.
you know, realizing that we
Bio-individuality.
Yeah. It's like, this is not one size fits all.
Right.
But also we all at the same time, like we need that customization, but
Yeah.
also we all need the same things. We need accountability,
Right.
like support,
Yep.
understand, like that relationship, like I just mentioned, is so important. The
Yeah.
trust, because it does get vulnerable, and
Yeah.
this is so much more than what to eat or following a workout program. It's
Right.
like, what happened?
Yep.
Let's break it down. You know, like
Yep.
it is truly like conversations like that.
That's why it feels like therapy.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think being in a like-minded community, knowing everyone is trying to better themselves, our goals might be different and the journey might be different, but having that like place to come back to,
Yeah.
and knowing that like, okay, everyone's in this together, and like a safe space to ask questions. I feel like
Yeah.
that helps me help my clients, because then they can ask questions. I always say in the community, it's like, ask questions that you don't care about what I think,
Right.
but you care about, you want to crowdsource.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
think
you-
that's important. Getting like
Yeah.
your like peer reviews.
Yeah,
Almost.
there's women that are in my community that I've worked with for like 6 years and have been at this for a long time. They have a
Yeah.
lot of great value to share.
Yeah.
That's better
Also,
than
they have-
what I have to say.
And they have different
sometimes.
experiences than you sometimes as well. Like, I don't know, I'm sure you work with people who have had children, people who,
Yes.
and like, that's something that your physical body has never been through.
I
It's
was
like,
just gonna say that.
that's just, they have other people that they can relate to where it's like,
Yes.
well, oh, you understand because we've been through XYZ.
yes, the moms,
Yeah.
right? Or the people who are entrepreneurs like me who are super busy. There's like a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
So I think having a community is so key
Yeah.
for that, and realizing that this is not just a workout program. Like, we're actually all trying to learn, and I love
Right.
it. It's also because it's a community now. It reminds me of what you do a little bit, like
Aw.
with Curiosity. Like
Yeah.
I'm sharing research as I learn it.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know everything, but I'm going to share it, and let's
Yep.
start the conversation. And then when we have like a live coaching call, we can kind of talk more about it.
Ooh, I
I'll share
love
my
that.
take. So it's kind of like everyone
It's the same
loves to geek out
ethos.
about wellness. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so for curious cuties who are listening, like, you know, it's the same ethos there. So maybe check it out, which of course we'll put all the stuff in
Thanks.
the description of the podcast. But okay, so what are some key principles or strategies you emphasize to help people build balanced and healthy lifestyles?
I think that one is patience with
Yeah.
yourself. I think that has to come first,
Right.
because usually when you go to like invest in yourself or you get to the point where you're so ready for a change, you're like desperate for help and kind of sick of your own stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's a great place to be, because it's like, we're at this precipice. It's like, there's opportunity, growth, change is going to happen. It's exciting, but people end up, and I'm like this too, I'm sure you can relate. Like,
Yeah.
you want to do everything
Yeah.
all at once, and then we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like this all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
And it's like, I end up having to like reel it people
Reel it
back more
back.
than anything. Because I always say to everyone, I'm like, I want you to get to the end of week 1
Right.
and not feel like a failure
Right.
already. Like, that defeats the whole purpose. We're going to be at this
Right.
for life, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
not going to, this is the rest of your life
Yep.
here. We're not going to you're not just going to give up. So let's start so slow and gradual enough and be patient enough that you get to the end of week 1 and are like, all right, bring it on. Like, what
Yeah.
else you got?
Yeah.
Like, you feel successful, because building the momentum is the hardest part. But when you set 50 goals, I can't tell you how many people are like, I'm going to do this every day. And it's like, do we
Really?
do anything?
Yeah.
How many things do we do every day?
Yeah.
Maybe make coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, do we
Honestly.
really have to go all in like that? Like,
Yeah.
can we just set a realistic goal first
Yep.
and build that momentum? So I don't know if everyone would agree with that approach, but I think
Sure.
that's like a key principle, is like baby steps. We got to build
Patience.
momentum. In my experience, I feel like that results in long-term success.
I
where
love
we're not
that.
feeling
Yeah.
like a failure right off the bat
Right.
and giving up too soon.
Because you can implement those 50 things for about 3 days, and then you're like,
It's like
I'm worn out.
0 to 60 back to 0.
Yep.
Or just go 80 miles, 80%.
Yeah.
But for months. And now it's like, yeah, we might have only lost a few pounds
Yep.
a month,
Mm-hmm.
but like, okay, 6 months went by. We're
Right.
at our goal now.
Right.
And you feel good the whole time.
Right.
You're not restricted. You know,
Right.
that's like the best compliment. I don't think my clients look at it like a compliment to me, but in my mind, I'm like, it's the best compliment when they're like, this doesn't feel that like hard. Like I'm not starving. Like I thought I need more.
I thought I was
pain.
going to be
I'm gonna
tortured.
suffer.
Yeah.
Like, we're not. Like, this is, you know, but
Like,
you just can't.
you want to make it a lifestyle, not like
yeah.
boot camp forever.
I know. I think it's human nature a little bit to
It
crave
is.
the extremes. We want to feel like we did something. We want to sweat. We want to, you know, we want to feel like we worked hard.
Well, it's that immediate gratification kind of thing. We're like, well, if I can work extra hard and get like an immediate result, then that's like going to feel really good. But usually that doesn't last.
Yeah. It's like, we can feel like that, but
Yeah.
we also just don't need to we don't need to approach this with like a mindset that we're expecting to suffer and
Right.
struggle.
I like
You
that.
know, we can enjoy our life and find that balance, and you're not going to get it overnight. I'm still working on it, and I've been at this for more than a decade now, but it's
Slow and steady wins the
slow and
race.
steady wins the race, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So how do you define happiness in the context of health and wellness?
Ooh, I like that one. I think you feel happiness when you feel, even whether things go well or not, you still feel motivated to pick up the next day
Yeah.
or the next choice and like do something for yourself and take care of yourself. You know, it's like, an example would be sometimes people get discouraged when they fall off, right? Or they went on vacation or something and their health and wellness like didn't go as planned with their regular life, right? But if you've found happiness in your regular life, then you're excited to get back to your routine.
Right.
And it's like, no big deal. Okay, had some wine in Italy. Great. Like, I would hope you do.
Yay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you might feel a little tired and not like your healthiest self, but you hopefully enjoy the healthy, balanced life you've created enough that you're like excited to get back on Monday and go to your workout and prep your healthy food and get back to the grocery store.
And hopefully you felt amazing in Italy because you had prepped like your body to be able to walk around a bunch.
That's
and like
such a good point.
Like you were able to enjoy it more because you had taken care of your body beforehand.
Yes. It's like if you do what's good for your body most of the time. I like to use that word, right? It's like not 100 like perfectly strict where we like
we're
miserable.
drinking espresso martinis. That's not ideal for our health, but like it's
doing
also
this
good for our
every day.
soul.
Exactly. And it's like you're not doing it every day. Most of what you do, if it makes you feel good, then you get to that vacation or you get to that weekend and I don't think twice about ordering a few appetizers like at all.
Right.
You know, because like this morning I had hard-boiled eggs and
right. You're in your routine. You're in your like
routine.
regime.
So personally, that's what I think is like that's the ultimate win.
You're like the happiness is like revolves around your ability to live out your life.
Yeah. And be excited for that routine and balance that you've built.
I love that.
And enough that you want to get back to it. It's like nothing ever kicks you off the wagon forever. It's like you just pick back up the next day.
And finding the things that I feel like you like too. I mean, we can get into that at some point, but like I feel like so many people are given this idea of what's like right for them for like for working out or for routines. You know, we get served so many morning routines and ideal whatevers, and it's like it's not going to work for everybody. Like you're going to have to find yours. And I feel like I am in the constant state. I think it's because I'm maybe a Virgo. Who knows? I'm in a constant state of like trying to figure out my ideal routine or ideal morning routine. I'm just like adding all these different things. I take away things, but like at the end of the day, like I feel like trusting your body too and like listening to what feels good and what you are able to return to, that you want to return to. If you're just like doing these things that feel like torture every day of like your life or your routine, then you're not going to want to return back to that after you come back from Italy.
No.
You're like, why would I?
Because
I hated it the whole time. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm always experimenting. It's like I need to probably chill and just get but I have fun doing that. Like I do it because I like it. Like I like to say, oh, like Lauren I heard does you know, XYZ.
It's like inspiring to hear different things.
I love it. I'm curious. I want to know what you do. Try it. See if I like it. And you always end up going back to the things that work. But if you're not constantly reflecting and evaluating, then, you know, you can get into a rut. So I think maybe that's just our personalities, but like you said, I do it because it's fun.
I like it. Yeah. I'm
like, I love learning about what other people are doing.
I love to be like a fly on the wall. I'm like, tell me, like, teach me. I just want to know.
Like, let me try that.
Yep.
You just
exactly.
You're
never know. An experiment. Your like whole life and your whole body is like, an experiment.
That's definitely how I live.
I love that. Me too. Okay. So you mentioned that you were really influenced by 90s dieting culture.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on like how you were and how that shaped your approach to your health coaching?
Oh yeah. I think the 90s, from what I recall, was like stick thin, no curves, like starving yourself basically. Right. Like I remember my mom did Atkins and she had Slim Fast in the fridge. I mean,
oh gracious. I remember, and then
Special
like
K
Special K.
diet.
I was gonna say Special K.
I was totally doing that in high school. Me and my friends would come together and be like, okay, let's just eat an apple and Special K cereal
and like a little bar.
Like what? Nothing. It's just crazy. But there was no social media, but we had magazines and the commercials, and then I'm sure the people in our lives dieting. And you just thought that was like the pinnacle of like healthy. Of health, yes. And I remember like really caring about that. Caring about
I did too.
Health and what I looked like, and just not knowing better. Everybody was doing it at the time. And
I mean, looking back though too, it's like all those things were so processed. Besides the apple, of course. Yeah. But like all the like the Special K, the little bars, like the little meals. I'm like, how much processing goes into that stuff?
So bad. And it was a lot of like move more, eat less, be as small as possible. Right. At least like that's how
take
I
up the least amount of space as possible. Yeah.
So there was no such thing as lifting weights or being like, God forbid you work out and are healthy because you're confident in yourself, and like actually feel fit, and like it was a lot toxic. I was gonna say it's a little toxic.
No, it was big toxic.
Yeah, and that definitely, I still find those thoughts creeping in. Yeah, and I'm not like that anymore. I have a really good relationship with food and exercise now, but it took a long time, and it's so ingrained in our society.
It really is,
and we have to constantly. Actually, just talk to a client about this because we're going through a reverse diet, which is this process of like, if you've been dieting for a really long time and like under eating, the way to get yourself to be able to eat a lot more where you should, be thriving is not to just jump it up. It's slow. It's, it sounds like a fancy thing. It's really just gradually eating more, but if you've been ingrained with that dieting culture, you're like, women are so terrified of eating more. They think like, and so I have to constantly have that conversation about like, hey, what's wrong with fueling yourself? Yeah. Like this is to help you feel your best, you know? But we sometimes are still scared to like actually eat enough.
And take up space.
You know?
Do you work with like clients that are, let's say like born in the like early 2000s? Do they have a different like relationship, or do you feel like they've been influenced by previous culture?
Ooh, that's an interesting question because it was different. I think it shifted at some point to the curves.
Okay.
Obviously.
And now we're like, though you probably have some Gen Z who are like, please give me an ass.
Oh, for sure. But now, what I think is that like my overview is that it's like combined where it's like, okay, I want to be as skinny as possible, but also have like this huge
Badonkadonk.
And it's like, okay, do you realize those are two separate things?
Yeah.
Like, we have to eat to build
You're going to have to eat a lot more.
A lot. And it's like hard. It's hard to build muscle. As a woman, you have to eat, you have to train.
Yes.
And that process, you can't just like spot treat your body. We're not waving a magic wand here. But
yeah, you can't like eat towards a direction either.
Like this is all gonna go over there.
We can only hope.
Like it's crazy. And then anywhere if you do have a fat loss goal, that requires eating for a period of time and less, and that might shrink your gains. That might shrink the booty.
Right.
Which stinks, right? Because you're working so hard to like grow it. So it's
you're like, we got to work on different things, different times.
Pick one.
Yeah.
Go all in. Yeah. And then it's a
that's why you said
process.
This is gradual.
It's gradual, and there's like cycles and seasons of life, but you just that's funny that you said it's like maybe it's the generation.
It probably is.
Of,
Yeah.
We want everything to be. We want to wave a magic wand and look a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating.
It's funny.
I'm like, I naturally am a very thin person, and so I've always been on the outside of like a lot of like routines and like things that people kind of put together, because it's a lot about weight loss. And it's not something I talk about a lot because it's isolating for other people when they hear it, they hear me talking about it, but also it's like, I also I don't have a lot of verbiage because there's not a whole lot of conversation from people who want to put on weight and who want to like add, there's not like, I wouldn't be coming to you with being like, I want to lose weight and grow a booty. I'm like, I literally just need to put on weight. So like, help, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's so that it's hard to find, honestly. It's just hard to find people who are like willing and like ready to have those conversations versus, yeah. So do you find like people in your community, do you find like there's any there that are like in that place? Yeah.
Yeah. I actually remember us talking about this. I feel like you might remember like maybe a year ago or something where I might have mentioned like it's hard to eat enough. And you were like, nobody ever says that.
Yeah. Nobody talks about that.
No, but it is. And I think it comes up. Of course, this maybe isn't like your specific experience, but I do think sometimes it's more common that it comes up when people are trying to build muscle or build curves. And they don't realize how much they have to eat.
So much.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Much food.
You have to be intentional. Like that's not easy, especially if you just naturally don't have a big appetite.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like that much time.
Or the time to prepare.
To make the food. It's like, okay, you have time to maybe eat, but I'm like, okay, but somebody has to make the food.
Yes.
Like I can't just be,
You gotta have the prep in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of discipline.
It's not, but I think, it makes me sad that isn't more like, even if it's not particularly for you, like you're don't have this goal of maybe putting on like a ton of muscle, but that you never hear anyone talk about.
I don't
eating enough.
Yeah.
And if you were to bring it up, I mean, I'm sure people would have a problem with it.
Yeah. On the grand scale, like grand scheme of things, like I do think it would be, this is divulging into a whole other conversation, but like body positivity, like is sometimes like leaves out the skinny girls.
The skinny. It's like, God forbid I speak up,
like, but then it's like
it's hard to maintain a weight.
Yeah, but then it's like, I don't know. They're like, know your place. I'm like, wait, I thought this was body positive. I have a body. Like I literally have a body.
I know.
But
it's silly, but you'd get hate for that too. So it's like, I think I don't experience that as much, for sure.
Of course, it's in the minority for sure.
But I do have people that reach out who are looking to that they just don't. I think the words that are used are like, I want to learn how to eat. And I know that sounds silly, but like,
sure.
We don't get taught anything about nutrition in school.
Right.
So it's like, we all deserve to at least know how to fuel ourselves properly, on a basic level. And obviously there's tons of nuance and personal preference and goals that have to come into play, but we should at least know like how to prepare balanced meals, how to, grocery shop and just the basics, the fundamentals.
Right.
And
so we're not just eating a bar and an apple.
Yeah. We're watching, the Special K commercial.
Right.
Like, hey, just Special K.
Literally a bowl of cereal.
Great. Yeah, exactly. Like we should know. And those people might not have a weight loss goal, but they're just like, I just want to make sure I'm optimizing my health for longevity and for aging well and preventing disease. And
like, I just want to be healthy.
Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay, I want to go into kind of like a deeper, more serious bit of your story. So I know when you were young, you lost a friend due to cancer.
I did.
And you said you were like 10 when that happened?
I was 10.
That's obviously life-changing.
For sure.
Do you want to go into that and like how that affected, your mindset or your point of view on health and anything like that?
Yeah, I think that it's something, I think I lost my friend. I was 10, and I think I saw that battle with cancer at a young age in hospitals. And then it wasn't just that, I think anyone who experiences or sees people in their life, get sick.
Yeah.
In any, mental health, physical health,
Either way,
even just chronic illness, I think it affects you.
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger, because you're fearful. And I don't like to tell people like, oh, I do this because I'm fearful. It sounds like a negative thing to be, fear, but fear is a great motivator.
Right.
And not in the sense that like, that's how I live my life in fear, but I think it initially motivated me to be curious. And like,
because at that age too, it's like, it's all confusing as well. Like you probably were just learning so many things for the very first time, like ever hearing what cancer is and ever hearing what disease is. And like, that just makes you be like, okay, I got to know about this because I lost somebody due to this.
Yeah.
How
we're seeing it. And in my community where I grew up, I saw a few people lose their parents to cancer. And I don't know if that was normal, to be honest. I never really thought much deeper about it. It just happened to be my experience. And then I kind of grew up and I didn't really think about it after the fact. But now that I have the career I have and that I'm so motivated to, prevent disease. And I think it's unusual to meet people in their 20s and 30s who are so focused on disease prevention, because most people are just worried about their aesthetic and how they look, and they're not thinking about what they're going to feel like and function like when they're in their 50s and
That's
60s.
me. I'm kind of obsessed with that, which is what motivates me completely. And maybe I will say maybe that is part of the privilege of being like more like thin, is that my motivation is mainly to do with health and long term. And I will say like that's maybe a benefit of that and like a privilege, I guess. Yeah. From that side of it.
That's true. I never thought of that.
Which is part of like why people like they're like, I don't really care to hear your like perspective, because like you're like you're not worried about the current as much. Like I'm not so much worried about like right now and how it looks in this second, but it does lead me to be kind of obsessed though about how I'm like, I constantly think about how my knees are gonna feel when I'm 60. Like I don't know why, but like things like that, and like my lower back, like I'm just like always wanting to know how I can best care for myself, because at that age I'm like, I want to feel the best that I could possibly feel.
For sure.
So anyway, I'm one of those people.
No, and I love when I do talk to people who are younger that care about it and think about it, because it's so important. Yeah. And I don't ever want to be this person who's like fear mongering. Yeah. So I don't want it to be a negative thing, but I do think it's so important, because as anyone knows who's lost a person in their life, like at any point, life is short and you just never know what can happen. Yeah. Your life can change like this. So I think it's always been like, I've always been very grateful, I guess, for the health that I have, and very aware that it can change in an instant. So, okay, when you don't want to go for your workout, like you have the ability to do that. You should be grateful that you can move your body. Yes. And that, and I guess I just always have had, maybe that experience shaped that perspective a little bit, but I've just always had that mindset of, you should be grateful that you can. You should be grateful, like you're grateful for your health. You're grateful for your health. That's the most important thing. If you don't have that, you have nothing. Yep. And I might be a little bit not the fun sister at the party, or not the fun daughter. Oh my God. But the people I care about, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. But, and a little controlling, and a little control freak. But it's just out of a place of love and care, because I think to feel really good as you age and be able to like keep up with your kids and your grandkids is like the biggest blessing. Yep. So if I can, inspire people to care a little bit more and use something that maybe was unusual and a little traumatic. Yeah, of course. For a positive. Yeah. Then why not,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us more about your Fit Life membership and basically what participants can expect from that?
Of course. I would love to. So in my Fit Life membership or community, I kind of use those words interchangeably. I'm your coach. There's just me.
Ashley Khristine Clemens.
Yes, exactly.
We'll use all of them.
And I basically hop on a call and we game plan your custom goals.
Okay.
So what your nutrition goals look like, what your fitness goals look like, and anything else that's relevant to your life. You know, I have people that are dealing with chronic illness or autoimmune, or an injury, or really struggling with sleep and stress. I think that's a big one that doesn't get enough talk. Like, we don't talk about that enough. Sleep and stress. But, you know, sometimes, before you can even start a workout program, it's like, let's tackle our
like,
habits.
are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get a good workout if you're not sleeping.
Like, workouts are not the priority.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yep.
So it's like a call where we break down what are your goals, and you join the community, which is a private Facebook group. Okay. And you get all the stuff, all the fun stuff, all my videos and resources, and join the fitness app.
So that's like it's private, like it's private. Exclusive content that you're uploading there.
Exclusive content, and you get your own workout program through the app.
Wow.
And we have a call where we just set you up
there's
for
an app?
success. Yep, I have a fitness app where you can access your workouts.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some people, if you're in Nashville, of course, I can train you in person, which is fun. But most people are working out additionally on their own through the app, or they're from another state and they're far away and they're following along with the program. So it's a little bit of a hybrid.
Okay.
And then you basically, in the Fit Life membership, you choose your accountability level.
Okay.
So you just basically choose.
What does that mean?
Do you
want me to call you every morning? Or?
It's hilarious that you say that, because it's like, do you want me to be your new best friend?
That's hilarious.
No, I promise I won't call you every day. I will leave you alone. But yeah, weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly, we have like a one-on-one check-in.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's kind of cool.
It's custom and community based, but you also get that one-on-one experience. However often you actually want to hear from me.
That's so cool. So is the app called that as well, or what is it?
No, the app is separate.
Okay. It's something you get
Yes.
after membership.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Once you join.
I love that. That's so neat. So people, curious cuties, if you're in Nashville, obviously get with Ashley.
Come see me.
But if you're not, then you still can work with her, which is really neat.
That's the
I like that
beauty
you
of
set that up. I didn't know that.
Thank
That's cool.
you. Yeah, virtual coaching program.
I mean, you gotta it can't all just be like local. Mm-mm. Like, you have to be able to reach other people.
I really would love to plan a community thing though in Nashville. Yeah, for people that are here though.
You
I
should.
need your help.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me help you.
Be a good creator.
Yeah. We could work together.
That would be fun. But yeah, it's nice to be able to reach more people virtually.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. So I want to know, what are some common misconceptions or myths about nutrition or fitness that you often encounter in your line of work? And then how do you address them in your coaching?
I think 2 come to mind right away.
Okay.
2 really big ones. One nutrition, one fitness. So,
okay, great.
Okay, the fitness one I guess I'll say first, because that's everyone knows this or has heard it, and maybe they still believe it, or maybe they don't. But weightlifting is going to make you huge and bulky.
I think people still need to hear. This is not the truth. Yeah.
Yes. And I could talk all day about muscle, but I will just say muscle is your friend.
It is.
It is metabolically active tissue, and it's not just your friend because it burns calories at rest, which is true, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have a faster metabolism. It's gonna be good for getting lean and toned. It's gonna help you with that.
Yep.
But lifting weights and focusing on building muscle is all about, in my opinion, I almost look at it first and foremost as a benefit to anti-aging.
Yep.
It's the key.
Isn't it good for your bones too?
I was just going to say bone density. When you lift weight, you improve your bone density. And as we age, the first thing we lose, if we lose our independence, right? If you think of in your mind, or just picture an elderly person that has no independence or needs a walker or needs support, it's because they lost their muscle and they can't stand. And
this is where my fear really comes in. I have a very, very deep fear of falling, and maybe it's because of my small frame, and I'm if I don't work on this, I'm really scared of that. I don't know if it's there was a past ancestor that fell, but I don't know. That is a major thing. So yeah, bone density. That's a main thing that I feel keeps running through my mind.
Because balance, stability, being able to catch yourself if you slip. When you're 80 years old and have lost a lot of muscle, that becomes something that really can mess up your life.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a lot of muscle, you are independent. You basically it's the antidote to aging.
Right.
And then another bonus, which I just have to mention because I think this is so cool. I just got a bunch of blood work done.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Like labs this summer. And I was talking to my doctor, and
I love this stuff.
This stuff is cool.
It's nerdy stuff.
Like I knew I was physically fit, but I didn't know if I was insulin sensitive enough.
Sure.
I know I eat well enough that I should be, but I also have a sweet tooth and I don't hold back. I'm not like 100% strict, as we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
So I was, I'm like, I got to keep up on this stuff and not
Yeah.
let myself slip with too many blueberry muffins at the coffee shop. I was like,
you do love your muffins.
I love my blueberry muffins. Osa. Shout out. Actually, they're from Dozen. Dozen makes them.
Right.
But they sell them Osa coffee. And I love them. But insulin was good. And I asked her, I was like, my downfall. I got to be careful with the sweets. And I'm glad that my insulin score came back good. And she goes, you want to know why? It's because you have X, I don't remember the number of pounds of muscle. She was like, the more muscle you have, when you eat sugar, glucose, right? Your muscles take that glucose up.
Okay.
Helps keep your blood sugar stable. And more muscle helps keep you insulin sensitive, which is what you want. Insulin resistance is when you stop, your blood sugar is not regulated.
Right.
So she was like, having that muscle mass and having this history of lifting for so long has helped you can get away with a little more treats. And I'm not trying to promote that, but it's just true that, and that's kind of, I always wondered, why are these Olympic athletes, eating Skittles, some of them, before or they can get away with, eating crazy stuff. And intuitively, it's because they're burning a bunch of calories, obviously, which is part of it. But also, if you have a lot of muscle, your muscle is going to take up that glucose because it needs it to maintain itself.
Fascinating.
And it's just so cool. I was like, this is helping my long-term health too.
Oh, yeah.
And blood sugar stabilization is not like a fun topic, but it's so important.
Oh my gosh. No. I love that. I love that you brought that up because so many people, I think that's huge in like the wellness space right now is insulin, like knowing your glucose levels, the little monitor. Because at one point in my life, I was pre-diabetic, actually.
That's what I was thinking of.
So
pre-diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. Oh my gosh. This was a long time ago that I knew that I was. But then I went paleo, and but paleo actually wasn't working for me, and I don't know how I was doing it different than I'm like eating now. Mm-hmm. But then I went vegan, and it actually helped a lot when I went vegan. So that's why I say, like, I don't dog on the time that I was vegan. I think the beginning was actually very beneficial to me. Yeah. There's a lot of benefits I saw in the beginning. I think long term I wasn't supposed to be vegan long term.
Yep.
And so therefore I did deal with some like negative symptoms after a while, but anyway, in the beginning it actually was really good. I don't exactly know why, but I was pre-diabetic, and it's something I'm always like aware of, just because I was at one point.
In your mind, you're like, let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and I so I'm always interested in knowing what's going on with like glucose and with all the things with wellness right now. Being so into that, I'm like, okay, should I be hyper aware of it? Should I get back on that train? And of course, like I am, but I will say, like, if I'm focused on getting enough protein in, I'm like feeling great. Like that protein is like
so much
my go-to. Like I just feel so good on it. I mean, no matter beyond just eating meat, right? There's other things that have protein. And so I'm always incorporating that, and like anyway, so I digress. But
I love that.
So I'm no longer pre-diabetic.
Yeah, and people
I'm good.
And you think of like monitoring your glucose, your nutrition. Of course, that's obvious, but people don't think of lifting weights to help with being pre-diabetic.
And I think that's so great. I love that you shared that, because it's another motivator for me,
right?
To get in there and work on building my muscles. And I just keep hearing how good that is. And so, if you want that cake, honey, build up those muscles, get some biceps going, and
like I used to use
enjoy.
The expression, like we gotta like put what did I used to say, something like put it to work, right? Like if you're gonna eat the muffin, like put it to work, like put it to the booty, go lift,
Yes.
But actually, and then I'm like, oh, that's actually what
I feel like back in the day it was like run 1,000,000 miles, but I feel like now we are just learning so much more about the benefits of weightlifting. So it's like, instead of trying to punish yourself by running 1,000,000 miles. Why don't you just like enjoy yourself? And then when you go back in the gym, like lift heavy, girl.
Yeah,
like go for it.
Yes. Like use that extra energy.
Yeah.
To lift heavier.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. I love that. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, the question. So there was a second.
We're like, oh yeah, number 2.
Number two.
Number 1
Yeah.
is like lifting, making you bulky.
Yes.
No, it's very hard to build muscle.
Okay.
Do it. Lots of reasons.
Do it.
But number 2 is that, you know, people eat a certain way or do a certain thing to lose fat when they have a fat loss goal.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that. If you have to eat a little less, which is called eating in a deficit to lose fat, and it should always be a conservative deficit.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, you know, we're not crash dieting here.
Right.
We're doing it in a safe, appropriate way.
Yeah.
But if you are, even still, you shouldn't eat in that deficit forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Because then over time, you teach your body to maintain on less, which is where the problems can come in years later. Maybe you don't notice it right away because it's just a little bit less. But over years and years, you could be developing even just nutritional deficiencies from just not getting enough food. That's really common. And so after you've achieved your goal, or even if you have a long ways to go to get to your goal, I always tell people, you know, we might not get there right away in the first, 3 months, but we want to bring those calories back up and, make sure you're eating enough.
Regulating your body's like almost like not resistance, but like your body's ability to break down an amount, I guess.
Yeah, like when you break down fat.
Like and then also like absorbing the food that you're eating. So it's like you're saying if after, a couple months of eating in deficit, like you want to eventually you want to add those calories back in. Yes. Like basically getting your body to the point where it's like not so dependent on that deficit, that smaller amount.
It's like, this is a short-term thing. We're going to drop calories a little bit to get the ball rolling and lose. And then we bring it up for a little, make sure your hormones are regulated, make sure you still have muscle. We're not like starving.
Yeah.
We're not doing, this isn't forever.
Yeah.
A lot of people will feel, and they're excited. They feel success. They're like, I dropped it,
and
I lost, and maybe they only had 10 pounds to lose. So they hit that goal, but then they think they have to stay there forever to maintain.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, no, now there's this whole I'll call it a post-diet plan.
Okay.
Where it's all it is really is, like you said, we got to bring those calories back up so you can continue to thrive and have energy.
As a human being. Like now that you're like where you want to be, like let's live your life in a sustainable way.
Like eating out when you're in a deficit, like when people are working with me and they're really working to lose fat, it's like, yes, eating out's going to be more difficult because you have less to work with.
Yeah.
Of course, there's sacrifice to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
But it won't be like that forever. Because we're going to bring that back up. And because people will ask me like, well, how are you eating this when you eat out? And I'm like, well, I'm not eating 1,500 calories.
Right.
I'm eating 2,000 plus a day.
Right.
So you got lots to work with. You can have more fun and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
So I guess, to summarize, it's like we don't stay there forever.
That's also motivating, I think.
Yeah.
It gives people an end in sight.
Yeah, like put in the work now because it's
going to be worth it.
Yeah. Temporary.
I think that's really good. I think a lot of people do. That's a good myth buster because I think a lot of people do think that like they just naturally have to stick with exactly what got them to their like level they want to be at. They're like, now I just have to do exactly this. And it's like, you're saying that that's not true.
No, you want to bring your metabolism back up, but you do it gradually enough that you can kind of adjust to it.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much from you.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
I'm like, I'm like a nerd in all this stuff anyway, like in health and all of that, but like it's not really a side. We've brought on a nutritionist so far in this season, but like I'm wanting to do a lot more in like health and wellness and like, cause that's stuff I'm like really stoked about. Yeah. And I'm excited even still, I feel like I'm learning so much from you cause you're a pro. Like this is what you do. So like hopefully you would be a pro.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing those myth busters with us. Okay. So you're launching a course. Yes. Which is really exciting. So it's a course for women, right? Optimizing their health. So what can participants, clients, future, whatever, what can they look forward to in this course, and what topics will it cover?
Yeah, well, I'm creating a course so that I can basically combine all of this information in one place versus just being like, I used to always do macro boot camp, which was this virtual like macro based course basically with coaching. And it's so much more than macro. So now in my course, you can learn everything you need to know if you're interested in tracking your macros. And of course, macros are cool because you can track to lose fat, to gain weight, to just maintain. Like that's a lot of goals.
Yeah.
And it can be a tool you learn and put in your toolbox for life. But what about all the things we talked about, like sleep, disease prevention, grocery shopping, how to get into weightlifting for the first time if you've never been in a gym.
Right.
And then, I mean,
which is just terrifying, by the way.
Oh.
Like, I'm
stepping into that
section. I am literally terrified of the gym. And I think that's my downfall. Because, like, I'm also really short. And, like, a lot of the machines, like, some of the machines I actually can't even use because, like, they don't, like, shorten to
your level.
To my level.
You're like.
And so I'm, like, just standing there trying to adjust forever. And I'm like, that's terrifying.
It is. I mean, I've been in a gym for my whole life, so I shouldn't be intimidated. And sometimes, because I'm used to my own, like,
your own
smaller
machines,
gym, I'm not like in this big box, but like I understand what you would feel like if I'm in a big box gym that I've never been in before. I'm like, yeah, it is. They're like, who's looking at me? Does someone need this machine? How's this machine look?
I sweat like, more working on the machine than I do my actual workout.
Stuck and rusty, you're just like, I guess I'll
literally
just move to the next one.
Like, I'm not kidding. I think I sweat more trying to, like, navigate
and move
the
your
machines
weights around.
Yeah, literally.
Like, this is as heavy as me.
This is part of my workout.
Yeah.
Like, literally moving things around and, like, adjusting things is actually part of my workout. And also my fear of being watched.
Being watched. I know.
Like,
that is the biggest one I hear. It's like people, like, watching you. I always try to say, and trust me, I feel you, because we all feel that way.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. But when you are feeling like that, try to remind yourself, everyone's
like,
on their
everyone
phone.
is
Afraid
of, like, everyone's thinking of themselves.
Yeah. We're all, like, in this selfish society where everyone's on their phone.
Yeah.
Not even paying attention.
Yeah.
And usually the people that women are most intimidated by usually are, like, the men.
Yeah.
And the men are the ones I see doing the worst form in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
From my own experience. Not to, like, dig the men, but
I've seen it.
It's usually the men that are the overconfident ones that
they're
are
like
doing, like, bad
bodies.
They're
like rolling their. I'm like, dude, you're gonna throw out your. I don't even know a whole lot, but I know you're gonna throw your back out. Yeah.
I look at my clients, like, in the gym, and I'm like, you're doing a great job. That's not right. What you're doing is right. You're fine.
Yeah.
But nobody deserves to be bashed on their
of
form.
Course,
but,
of course.
You just have to remind yourself, people are doing the best they can. They're
yes.
in there to better themselves, and they're on their phone. They're not even looking at you.
Yeah.
And
so that's part of what's in your course.
I literally will walk you through, like, what machines are, how to use them,
that's
and how
really
to start
helpful.
at home. Like, just get a few dumbbells and some bands. Start with your couch and your living room. And then when you build the confidence with the movements, like, transitioning to the gym.
Oh, good.
So a little bit of everything in one place.
Oh, I love that. That's so helpful.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, that's going to be so nice. So you're working on that now. Do you have, like, an idea when that's going to be coming out?
It won't be till the new year.
Okay.
But my clients will get first dibs, like, sneak
peeks,
okay, and get to kind of try it out and give me feedback. So yeah.
Okay, so that's an incentive.
A little, maybe a small one.
I love it. Okay, so you've also mentioned the importance of being a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Okay, and, like, obviously the gradual thing is a big part for you. How do you personally stay updated and continually evolve in your field of health and wellness?
I can't stop. I feel like this is
can't stop, won't stop.
I can't stop. I need to learn less. I need to chill and, like, pick a lane.
No, never.
It's hard. I think find things that excite you. I find social media is great for, like, a positive. I know social media gets a bad rap for, you go down these rabbit holes, but social media is where I get so
learned
inspired.
So much from social media.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stumble across somebody, and if they're, obviously a professional or an
they have
expert
credentials.
In their space,
yeah, of course.
I will be like, I'm taking your course, and then I'm like, okay, here I am. I'm enrolled right now. I actually enrolled in 2 courses right now.
Okay.
For credits for the new year, which will
amazing.
One's very, like, weightlifting specific,
okay,
and programming specific, but it's just something that I'm like, I need to know how to do.
Are you, like,
so cool.
learning a lot? Like, is it, like,
much.
teaching you? Yeah.
And it's all just, I wouldn't have even known this course existed or the person if it wasn't for Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think that anything that excites you, even if I don't know how it's gonna, obviously this will help my business.
Of course.
Regardless, I would just want to know.
Yeah.
So
if it piques your interest, like, why not just kind of fall down that rabbit hole?
And just, you never know what you might think. Like, I haven't done a 180 in my career yet.
Yeah.
But I know people that have maybe learned one small thing.
Yeah.
And it was their new passion.
Just
and
the
their
light bulb
business
went
changed.
off. Yeah.
And they're like, this is what I'm doing now.
Yep.
So you just never know what will like light you up and become a strength or something. So
Yeah.
I think you just got to follow what excites you.
And like lights you up. Yeah. No, I completely agree, which is kind of fun because it's kind of what curiosity is all about.
Right?
It's like literally just following that curiosity.
It's very on brand.
It's very on brand, which is why you're here, because I know this is part of who
We're
you
aligned.
are, you know? Yeah, we are aligned. And that's like everyone that I'm bringing on to and into curiosity, it's like, as you saw and you've like heard me say curious cuties, like it is like we are a community of people who just like want to keep learning. So when you're like, maybe I shouldn't, I'm like, no, not here. Like here, that is one of our like main tenets. It's like we just stay curious. So anyway, I love that you said that.
Thanks.
Okay, while you mentioned that you like are not you don't consider yourself spiritual or religious, which I love, because like we've all come from different places. All of our guests have come from like different like positions in life when it comes to like some people were raised religious and are completely not now. Some people like are spiritual and some people are whatever. It's just very varied. But do you find any like overlap or connection between spirituality and well-being in like your coaching practice?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the mindset part, and it's almost bigger than, it's almost like the most important in a way. I hate to say that because so much of what I do is
it's
like
physical.
But your mindset and relationship with yourself or spirituality, just like where you are in that sense, is going to hold you back if it's not in a good place. And be the roadblock that we have to work through, or it will be the reason why you're able to kind of unlock another potential, you know?
Yep.
So I feel like that's never I won't say never, but rarely is that what people even think about or conscious of. Yeah. But it's, as a coach, I feel like I observe
it does have that overlap.
For sure.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, you are very spiritual and in tune with yourself.
Yep.
And you just hear people, like I'm talking to people all day and reading their self-reflections.
Right.
And it's just evident too in how people talk to themselves.
Yes.
And talk about themselves.
Yeah.
And
that's fascinating.
It's so fascinating.
And like you could say all day like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, but if your brain doesn't let you go to the gym, you're not going. Yeah. Like you literally cannot get your physical body into a gym if your brain doesn't say, yes, we're going to the gym.
Yeah. And also your self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
I mean, or just how you identify, I think, and what your potential is.
Like I'm this person who's always going to be overweight, or I'm this person who's never going to be disciplined enough, or I'm like all these limiting beliefs. Like you're going to follow through with what you're repeating in your mind, right?
Yeah. Or if you've never been a person, if you never played sports and you didn't grow up in a family that was like active or had any experience, in a gym, you almost just you just say like, that's not the kind of person I am or will be. Like, I'm not an act. So it's like,
you're like, it's not my DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. And so going to the gym it feels out of character.
Right.
And you just can't get aligned. It's like almost like, well, you don't associate or identify as a person that goes to the gym.
Right.
Or, and it doesn't have to be the gym, it could be
like
whatever class or go for a walk or a run. But if you've never done that and you just have that mental block of like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
Versus the people who have that more free flowing, growth mindset,
right?
Where they're like, well, I've never done that before, but I would like to become a person who does this in their morning routine. I would like to become I've heard people say, I like to become a person that, orders the healthy thing on the menu at the restaurant and not the craziest thing because
fried,
they're out to
blah,
eat.
Blah, blah, whatever.
And so, yes, maybe right now they have this habit or pattern of coming home and sitting on the couch or going to a restaurant and ordering the fried food because it's a treat every time. But they have in their mind this potential of like, well, I want to be this person who actually behaves differently.
Right.
So just that is enough. Because it's like, now we can act as if.
Right.
We can start.
Fake
it till you make it.
How do you help those people who are like, my family, like I'm not that person. I'm not the person who goes to the gym. I'm not the person who moves my body. Like, how do you help them?
I think it's talking through and reassuring people that they're the creator of their destiny, as cliche and corny as that sounds, right? It's like I think
it's true
people,
though.
It sounds, a little corny, but people love the reminder. And when we actually get into it and talk about it, I feel like most of my clients are like, oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me of that. You almost forget that you have choices and you have a power, and that your life gets to be, obviously there's things out of our control, but we get to decide what it looks like, and you get to create your own life, and you don't have to be the person you were yesterday, tomorrow. You literally can change whenever you want, because you're a free adult.
And this is again why people feel like it's therapy.
Yes, because this is like literally what I say. I'm like, you get to choose. So so it's like meditating or journaling or just talking in a session about like, what if there were no limits? Like, what would your dream life be? And like, what's the tiny baby step that we can take to start acting as if?
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And that's kind of where we start.
I love. Basically, you take them to church. You're like, I'm like bringing you to therapy.
They're like, okay, didn't know I needed that voice note. Like, going off in voice notes.
Oh, you record them?
Oh, yeah. We'll do voice notes sometimes, a phone call or voice notes in my coaching sessions. And it's like, I'm sure if somebody was to watch me leaving my voice notes being like,
no, it makes it so much more personable though. People can it really seeps in whenever they hear a voice saying it to them. They're like, oh, this woman is literally telling me I have potential. Like she's literally saying it with her mouth.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you just need to hear it. Like, by the way, did you forget? Like, this is your life. You get to choose. So if you don't like the way it is now, like, that's okay. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? Because that's what inspires me. It doesn't mean that'll work for everybody, but that's kind of like, that is the self-talk I give or the tough love I give myself when I'm in a rut or making bad choices or don't like my life. I'm literally have to just tell myself, what are you doing? You get to choose. Right. You're like, what don't you like?
Right.
Start over.
I feel like the people who are motivated by people being mean to them wouldn't work with you.
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
Really drill sergeant.
Yeah, no, that's not really what you're promoting.
Love, a little sass, but loving.
Yeah,
loving. I would say.
Yeah,
there's a kindergarten teacher within me.
Literally, I was gonna say back to your teacher self.
Not for everyone.
Oh my god. Okay. Can you share some challenges you faced in your journey as a health coach and how you overcame them?
Yes. Do you mean more working with other people or personally?
I'd say personally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, whatever comes to your mind, honestly.
Yeah. For, in my day to day and working as a health coach, I think, this is the first thing that comes to my mind is wanting to lead by example, obviously, right? Which I feel like I do, hopefully, but also finding moments where I'm not perfect, and that here I am taking people to church about your potential and giving yourself grace and being patient, and then sometimes I'm hard on myself and I'm not living my fullest potential or self-sabotaging
for sure,
not all the time, but I'm not perfect, right? And so that I think is the biggest ongoing challenge is just I'm a human going through life too, and going through hard things, and not always I want to lead by example. So in moments when I feel like, ooh, that's not I'm not my healthiest, or I didn't sleep great, and what's going on with me?
I love when you share those things though. It's because you do share them on your stories sometimes, and I think it makes you relatable. You're like, oh, she isn't people want to know that you're not perfect.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like I need that reminder personally, because I think in my head I just go, oh gosh, this is a bad example.
I'm just showing that I'm messed up or whatever, but it's no, it's good.
You worry that people are get it together.
But no, I feel like it just makes you real. Yeah. So that people, whenever you do say those positive reminders, you're people can trust you because you're also having to tell yourself that.
That's true. Yeah. Nobody's a robot.
Right.
So it's okay. But it is, I think that is the hard part, is to continue to lead by example and be conscious of how you're treating your body and managing stress, because you have to be my best self and be able to do have these like vulnerable conversations with people, I need to be like on my game.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, you know, be okay with being a human and resting. And entrepreneurship is constant.
Yeah.
So you work a lot and you're hard on yourself and you care about your people. You know, it's whenever you're creative or you work for yourself, it's always
like a full time. Yeah.
All the time.
Like how can you not make it like full time basically?
Yeah.
And I think like your honesty makes people and your clients and potential clients feel comfortable to tell you the truth too. Because I feel like I could see like having that like accountability, wanting to lie.
That's true.
You know, could be like, I just don't want her to think I'm like lazy, or I don't want her to think I'm like blah blah blah. But if you're like posting, like if you know you're sharing the times and you're like, oh, I didn't get a workout in yesterday, or I whatever, you know, whatever it is you end up sharing, I feel like it gives room for people to be like, okay, all right, I also blah blah blah. Struggled. Yeah, I also struggled. I also got like no sleep last night. I also went out 2 nights ago. You know, whatever it was. So anyway, want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Personally.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I needed that check myself.
Yeah. I mean, we all need that.
Yeah.
Like the bit of encouragement, but just to be authentic and like real. I think it's like really important.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any inspiring success stories from like your clients that you like to highlight?
I have to say my mom.
Oh my God.
Because of
Cute.
course, if it's your mom, like you have to bring it up.
Yeah.
But I have to say that is my favorite success story because I will say this helped make it even more, or helped her become more successful because she had a good mentality going into it.
Okay.
Very patient. She had no agenda and timeline. You know, she was like, I've struggled with my weight for a long time. So if I can get there and show, you know, kind of had that, she had that perspective of like, if I can even do this, I'm going to just be so proud of myself. I don't care how long it takes. Yeah. And so helping her kind of build that self-confidence and show like, you can do this is the most rewarding thing. Aww. And we're still on the journey together. Yeah. But I think when I first taught her about macros, and she'll be okay with me sharing this. Yeah. It's kind of funny. She thought the numbers were like a suggestion, I think. Like she was tracking for probably 3 to 6 months, but like wasn't actually like hitting her goals, you know? She was like kind of like, was this good enough? Like, why isn't anything happening? Yeah. And it almost to the point where I was like, are you trying? Like my mom, like, what don't you get? Like, and so we had that conversation. Where I was like, no, like, you actually have to hit them.
That's so funny.
Like nothing happened yet. Like, just please trust me. Right? Yeah. And then she's like, all right, like it clicked. She was like, all right, like whatever, let's do this. Yeah. Hits them and like immediately the scale started dropping. And she's like, wow. Oh, I'm like, a few months later, all of a sudden. So like there was that little interim buy-in period to really figure out like I'm tracking my nutrition, but like
if you're tracking but not adjusting, it's not going to do much.
It's like this isn't like a suggestion to be in range. You have to like nail it.
That's so
and
funny.
Then things started to change. And then she also had a lot of knee pain and struggled to even like go up and down stairs. Oh gosh. Because of, and of course working out why would you want to run or work out when you're in like throbbing knees? Yeah. So we had that big obstacle to get over where we had to build strength in it. So you have to lift, but in ways that aren't going to like make it worse in the, you know, to build that strength up. And so she went from not being able to do any type of lunging or traditional things you would do, a lot of modifications, to probably within 6 months being able to just do any regular workout with full on lunges and weighted everything and no pain on the stairs. Wow. So, and she has this thing that monitors, you know, her body composition. She's like, my bone density went up at like 57 years old. Oh my God. And it was just cool to like, you know, see bone density go up, confidence go up. She built her own gym in her basement and has like a home gym set up.
That's so great.
And lost a bunch of weight and is still like doing it on her own with very little guidance from me, just like kind of monitoring. Yeah. But that was like she's my favorite client.
Oh, that's so great. It's also nice to be able to, that it's your mom, so you could just like say all the details.
Yeah, and give her like,
like mother. Love. Yeah, for
what happened to your fiber?
Literally. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And of course, obviously when it's family like that, you can
It's rewarding in a different way.
And it means a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
wow. Well, I'm going to have to like pick your brain later about the knee thing, because I
Yes.
have knees that, like I
Cause you
mentioned, that they give me trouble. So I fear for my future.
I've got some exercises. For
Okay, great.
I
I
would
would
start doing.
Oh gosh, I
Yeah.
would love that, because I like when I'm doing leg days and like doing the little kick out things, like they are not okay. Like
Yeah.
they're not happy. So like I need help.
need
So
to
well, anyway,
rehab it.
I'll pick your
We'll
brain
do that.
like personally about that
For sure.
later. Okay, so I love that success story. What are your future plans and goals for the Fit Life community and your coaching programs?
Oh, well, I already am starting this, but I would love to do a podcast. That's not really
Amazing.
a Fit Life community related goal, but it kind of is, because what I'm starting to do is have guests come into the community, experts. So it's kind of like
Amazing.
a private podcast.
Yeah.
Just for my
That
clients.
makes sense. Yeah.
And there's so many women in the Fit Life community right now who are experts in their own fields
Mm-hmm.
and rights, which is like even better, because we're just
Like we're doing completely different things to me.
they
Yeah.
might be therapists,
Yeah.
or one of my friends who I actually have known for years, and we went live together on my Instagram page, Cody. She's a pharmacist and a hormone expert, and just like very niche expertises that aren't necessarily my strength.
Yep.
That's already in the community.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
a lot in the wellness type space. Which is so cool. So I feel like this has kind of been a slow, gradual build of, adding more value to the community with these mini podcasts. And then hopefully, maybe if it feels right, I would love to kind of expand that.
That would be really cool. I mean, I recommend podcasting. I love it.
Cool. I can't stop. I just love them. I just love the, I guess if you're a curious person, there's just like something for everyone.
There is.
So it's just like one of my favorite forms of media to consume.
Yes. Same.
Just obsessed. So I'm like, if
Same.
I spend all my time listening, maybe I should.
That's how I feel too. Like anything
too.
that I like consume a lot of, I'm like, okay, should I get involved in this somehow?
Yeah.
Because obviously I like it.
Exactly.
So
like, what else
here
can
I
we
am.
add to the plate? But yeah, no, in the community, just continuing to add more value and more like actual live Q&A sessions, because I already go live in the community to answer questions every month, but
more
spice it
people.
up.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really cool.
That's coming. Yeah.
That's coming. It's in the
excited.
works. Yeah. Potentially a future podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Put it out.
Of course,
it
that
into
is coming
existence.
out. So, like, you got a lot going on, girl. Okay, so last question. I know we've like been all over the map, but like that's how we are. That's
great.
just who we are.
It is.
Okay, so you've mentioned the importance of curiosity, and especially as a lifelong learner, how do you encourage curiosity in your clients, and how has it benefited you in your career?
I love this question.
Oh,
by the
yay.
way.
Me
It's a
too.
Good question. I think that sometimes when in a coaching relationship, you tend to think that the person that is the professional or the expert is like the giver of knowledge and like knows everything.
Yeah.
And I really try, and I think I got this from my teaching background, where it was like your learning is just as much from the kids as they learn from me. It's like a
Give and take.
give and take relationship. I think that's kind of where it comes from, but I'm very much like, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like I try to encourage my clients to trust themselves.
Yes.
Like if this doesn't feel right to you, I trust you. It's your body.
Yes.
Like let's
Love
explore this avenue. Or I will refer them out if it's not my area of expertise and be like, let's do lab work, or maybe you should go see this person. Or I don't maybe know the answer, but I love this resource. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
And see what we can find. And I think they start to build confidence in themselves and realize like, oh, you're not going to just fake. You're not dogmatic and going to be like, I'm standing on my soapbox. This is the only way.
Right.
I'm
Well,
very
people can hurt themselves that way if they're not
Yeah.
listening to their body.
It's like, and I'm learning with you.
Yeah.
I will be honest about what I know and don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that encourages confidence and more self-awareness, I
Yep.
hope. And I think that's helped my business because people feel empowered and trust me more. And so then the relationship becomes a much longer term relationship, and they're more likely to refer a family member. It just becomes a lot deeper than I need a trainer or something,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it just really becomes like, oh, I actually should explore this. And I try to, hopefully I create little, curious nerds.
Curious cuties of your own.
Yes. I was gonna say geeks, and I'm like, what's the word? Because I always call myself, I'm like, I love geeking out about this stuff, and I want to like express and share that passion,
Right. No,
you know?
I love that. That's how you like approach it. I feel like when the podcast used to be Deconstruct as well, the whole time I've been very adamant about, I don't want to say what you should believe. I don't want to say what you should, you know, stand by or anything like that. I will say I will encourage you to ask questions, because that's naturally who I am. Also, if I give an opinion, I'm not saying that that's the opinion you need to have. I'm just saying that that's where everything I have researched, everything I have found to this point, this is what I think is like a good thing to live by, or something I believe in right now. I'm not saying that that's like what you need to do. I'm just being open, honestly, about what it is I'm experimenting with life, and you get to watch that essentially. And you, hopefully, the listeners, Curious Cuties, are able to hear what we're moving through and what we're learning and what is exciting us, and then maybe take something that like resonates with you, but then also hopefully that just ignites like a curiosity. Then you like hear one thing, maybe it's one thing we had in this conversation, and hopefully you just like run with that. You're like, oh my gosh, wait, what did they say about that? Like weightlifting stuff, like, and then you just go crazy on it, you know, like you just can't get enough of it. Like that's the whole point, is for you to hear like basically one thing and just go, oh my gosh, I'm gonna deep dive into whatever that is. Like you have an hour and a half long episode where you could just pick one thing and go nuts.
Go crazy, especially since you're all over the place.
Yeah, and I love that that's kind of how you approach it too with like your clients.
Absolutely.
You're like, let me give you a format, but listen to you. You know your body best, because it's literally your body.
Yeah. Here's what works for me. Here's other options. Let's give it a try.
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Okay,
appreciate it.
let us know where people can find you.
Amazing. Well, on my Instagram page, Ashley Khristine Fitness with a KH.
Yep.
Funny spelling. And ashleychristine.com, which is where you can learn more about the Fit Life membership and training here in Nashville and all that fun stuff.
Perfect. And I will have all the links in the description of the podcast episode, so you guys can find it all and find her links, like her Instagram, all of that website. It will be there.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you're incredible. And to all of you, thank you so much for listening. We love you guys. And until next time, bye.